Sweeties, how are you doing? Welcome to Naya Sim. If this is your first time of coming across this channel, sweetheart, kindly smash the subscribe button, turn on the notification so you get notified each time I upload, and please give this video a thumb up. I appreciate you all so much, and I am saying a very big shout out to every one of you for all the love and support you all give me here. I am truly grateful. Thank you all so much. So today we're talking something very important, and it's about this family, white family, getting all cancelled, loads of backlash for doing this to their live-in nanny, right? I mean, it looks like slavery is their thing. I mean, it's something they love to do. And they got this live-in nanny from Philippines, and this woman has been living, she lived with them for 3 decades, 30 years, or even more. And they got the nerves to say that America did not allow their nanny to stay longer. I mean, someone that has lived in with you for 30 years. And this woman never traveled back home to see the family throughout the period she lived with them and worked with them. They did not even get a work permit for her, no green card, nothing. So she spent all her time serving them. And they did nothing but exploit that old woman for that 3 decades she stayed with them. And people were like, wait, what are you actually, why did you actually bring this here so we can owe you, like, you know, because as it stands, even the lady is also making money from the woman through her TikTok because she has been posting her and all that. And a lot of people are like, oh, really? You know, some people love to bury their slaves. Oh, you guys really allow them to go? Okay, sorry. You guys really allow her to go? You know what? Take this to the screen. I'm going to roll this clip. You come back to talk about it. And I absolutely want to read your comments. They are getting loads of canceling. And the stitches are like the most important part. I am rolling the clip.
My 93-year-old dad is iconic, but I want to introduce you to the real legend of the family, Elena. She lived with my family for about 30 years, and about 6 months ago, she decided it was time for her to move back to the Philippines. She got me ready for my first day of preschool, moved me into my college dorm and everything in between, so taking her back to the Philippines was something I could not have wanted to do more.
You're going to the Philippines?
Yes, I'm going to the Philippines. I have to take her home. It had been over 30 years since Nanny had last been to the Philippines. She sacrificed raising her son and daughter to get a job in America and send every dollar she could back home to her family. She is the hardest worker, and it's not an exaggeration to say that she's been through hell, yet somehow she's the smiliest, happiest person I have ever met. Before I knew it, it was time to head to LAX, and when I tell you I have never experienced a heartbreak like this before, God, I love this woman so much. The princess, as I like to call her, was of course chauffeured all around LAX. She made so many friends, we got a ton of snacks, and we were ready for the longest flight ever. We had a tearful goodbye to America. She thanked it for everything it had brought to her. I cursed it for not letting her stay forever. We held hands the majority of the flight, and before I knew it, we were in the Philippines. All sorts of things were going through my head at this point. Will Nanny's family take good care of her? Will they resent me? How will she fit in? Will she be homesick for America? I was so anxious, I cannot even tell you. Stay tuned for part 2, my time in the Philippines. She thanked it for everything it had brought to her. I cursed it for not letting her stay forever. We held hands the majority.
So let me get this right. You had a stay-at-home nanny that worked for your family for 3 decades, yet you say America did not allow her to stay longer. So you're telling me within 30 years, no one helped her get a work visa so she could get a green card? If you Google it, the work visa can last up to 6 years, and then afterwards it can take up to 90 days to get a green card. So, but 30 years, you guys never helped her get citizenship, but she lived with you for 30 years? And now she has to, now America's making her go back? This doesn't sound right. This doesn't sound right.
She lived with my family for about 30 years, and about 6 months ago, she decided it was time for her to move.
Oh my God, that video is so sweet. They let their slave see her family after 30 years.
Oh my god. It just brings me such like a warm, bubbly feeling on the inside that your slave finally got to hug her own daughter after she felt she was done with you. You guys are the real MVP because honestly, they used to just bury their slaves with them, but you guys let your slave go home? Oh, that's... You guys are real heroes. And I feel you. After 30 years with your slave, how easy could it be to let your best people go? She's basically your family that couldn't see her own family for 30 years. So, I get it. I understand. Hard to let them go. I'm sure it's hard for her too, in a very, very complicated way that you'll never understand in your life.
The legend of the family. Elena, she lived with my family for about 30 years, and about 6 months ago,
I've re-recorded this so many times because I just can't get all my thoughts into 60 seconds. But this is what I wrote my thesis on, and it's really interesting the way you're framing this as oh my god, she's finally going home after 30 years. Oh my god, yeah. Do you know how long 30 years is? 30 years is a long time. It's very sad to see that your parents didn't even provide means for her to even get citizenship or even to go home more often. And this phenomenon is not exclusive to you. It's a very common thing with mainly South Asian women, African women, and Latin American women. And the only white women I can say that also experience this kind of behavior is women who are from Eastern Europe. So Poles, Russians, those kind of people. And it really is just an exploitation of power. It really is the only way for the West to sustain itself. And it's really sad because you genuinely think this is a happy story. This is not a happy story. This is actually quite a sad story. Your family exploited this woman for 30 years. She had kids of her own. Her kids are probably resenting her. Her family probably they are grateful for the money going home, but I spoke to kids like this. They miss their parents. They pray that their parents can come home. She didn't want to raise you.
the real legend of the family. Elena, she lived with my family for about 30 years, and about 6
Hi, I want to read you a little excerpt or just a couple sentences from this book, Servants of Globalization by Rachel Brandis. On the one hand, the denationalization of economies compels these nations to respond to the demand for low-wage labor and extend their range of exports to include the able-bodied workers. On the other hand, they cannot enforce the protection of their exported nationals due to the renationalization of politics. In the same vein, the recipients of these migrant workers do not accord them the same rights as their own nationals. Does that kind of sound like your nanny? Okay. For the most part, economic gains achieved in migration entail the loss of civil and political rights, first from the nation of citizenship, which loses judicial legislation rights, and second from the host nation, which relegates unequal rights to the migrants along the lines of race, class, and gender. Globalization consequently imposes upon migrant Filipino domestic workers social and political barriers that limit their ability to develop a sense of full membership in their host societies. Migrant Filipino domestic workers do indeed share the experience of partial citizenship. In various destinations of the diaspora, they are not protected by labor laws and as such are vulnerable to the exploitations of employers, including sexual harassment and abuse, excessive work hours with no overtime pay, and substandard living conditions. For example, women who have been confined in the home of their employers are commonly found in sheltered for abused Filipino domestic workers in various countries in the Middle East and Asia. Your nanny was with you for 30 years. Book rec.
to the Philippines. She sacrificed raising her son and daughter to get a job in America and send every dollar she could.
I know that this video was supposed to be a cute little heart, but it's just something about it's just something about, first of all, she did not leave her son and daughter to get a job in the United States. She left her son and daughter to become a servant. Let's not do that. I don't know how immigration works as far as visas, work visas, citizenships and all of that, but I'm pretty sure, like, if they have the money to hire a servant for 30 plus years, I'm pretty sure that they could have handled her affairs better with that situation as far as going back home. Like, I don't know. I just feel like it's really sad that somebody had to sacrifice raising their own children to go to the United States to raise somebody else's children who have their parents in their life already as it is. Um, or just even just not even their parents, but just guardians as it is. Honestly, that's deplorable. Um, yeah, no. Like, no.
I want to introduce you to the real legend of the family, Elena. She lived with my family for about 30
Alright, so basically it was this nanny that lived with them for 30 years who was from the Philippines, and in the 30 years of living there, she never went back and saw her family. And I think that this might have been like a big oops for the creator, because I don't think that she realized her experience growing up or what she was saying before she posted this video. Because people in the comments were saying, oh, it's been 30 years, and in the 30 years she worked with you, you never paid for a ticket for her to go back home, a vacation, or you could never take a vacation to the Philippines and accompany her. And she's been ignoring all of those comments, which I'm pretty sure she's going to turn off anyways. And she's been responding to all of the stupid ones. The ones that are like, oh, I bet she gives the best hugs. You know, and then she'll like that comment, or she'll, you know, reply to that comment with the, like this emoji, like with fucking both hands and shit. And I know what some people are saying automatically. They're right behind the screen. They're yelling at the screen saying, well, it's there. That's the job. Like, you know, you don't get these perks working at a job. Like, that's just a job. Why do they have to pay for a ticket? You don't have to. But you have a person, this lady clearly immigrated for survival purposes so that she could feed her family. She's been there for 30 years. She's been part of the family for 30 years. She's done like so much emotional and physical and financial labor for them. And the one thing that would probably mean the most to her, being reunited with those who she's doing all of this for, and they didn't give her. And what's so funny is that at the end of the video, you know, she's like holding her hand in the airplane and shit. And she goes, I curse America for not letting my nanny stay longer. Insane.
got me ready for my first day of preschool, moved me into my college dorm and everything in between. So taking her back to the...
Excuse my rugged appearance, but I just got back from a run and I saw this video on Twitter and I knew I needed to respond to it. For those of you that need context, the person, Elena, was a servant to the family of the TikToker that recorded that video. Whereas other white people like to say, a nanny. Now, I don't know about y'all, but as a first generation Latina, I never grew up with a nanny. My grandma was always my caretaker. And even as a 21-year-old college student, she still is. Whenever I go back home, she's always got sopita, pan, everything ready for me. Now, the love I feel for my abuelita is unconditional, and no one can ever take that away from me. But when you're on the other side of this spectrum, when your grandma is the nanny, things get complicated. That love that you feel, that unconditional love and passion for your family, for your grandma, or whoever it may be, gets split and shared. Your picture on the mantle gets pushed aside for their Christmas photos, their graduation pictures. In essence, they invade your family, your experience, your humanity. Your accomplishments that are earned through hard work, pain, tears, and labor are compared to theirs that come from a place of privilege. The employer claims to have that same love for your family member too. They claim that they have that familial love, that they treat your parents or your grandparents just like family. But deep down inside, you know that's not true. For most of us, we go to work with our grandparents as well to help them out. Especially those of us that have older grandparents. My grandma is in her late 60s and she's still working to this day because this country refuses to give her the benefits that she deserves. and I see how clean that house is and how many cars they have, how many rooms they have, the fact that they have their own room, and all of it is supported by my hardworking grandmother that can't provide the same to us because she has to split her love, her passion, and her labor with someone that will never see her as family. And then we're reminded that previously, before this, we had that opportunity. Before our lands were invaded, our politicians murdered, our hearts separated, we had that privilege. We don't get to have our own homes. We don't get to have our own land. We don't get to go to schools that support us. And we don't even get to share unconditional love with our own family members. And I know I'm not the only one that has gone through this. But people like that TikToker will never know what it's like to have to share your love with someone that doesn't even know your name, someone that doesn't even know you exist, all while paying your family members so terribly, holding them as an indentured servant, but calling them family. The hypocrisy. It's something that I will never let go of as I continue to grow.
Bro, I cannot wait till this girl comes out with a response video to all the stitches and the duets. Talking about, guys, it's not even like that. You guys are taking this way out of proportion. You know, she was well taken care of. No one's listening to all that shit. No one cares. We're not listening to that.
So this is all we got from the stitches. Thank you all so much for all the support. I absolutely want to read all your comments. I want to know what you all think about this. I mean, 30 whole years. I have nothing to say. See you all in my next video. Bye for now.